The Millennium Peace Accord is broken, aliens declare war, but humans only laugh. A fragile peace woven over a millennium, unraveled in a single broadcast. Humanity's answer was not fear, but a ripple of laughter that shook the stars. In the silver obsidian hall, Magnus Veyron strode onto the central dais, his crystalline cloak scattering violet light across the chamber's 12-meter-high arches. The warlord of the Abani sector, tall with 6 violet eyes, commanded the attention of 400 Nebula Alliance delegates. Their forms, scaled, feathered, luminous, filled the seats under a holographic dome. Veyron's hologram swelled, projecting his image across linked worlds. He declared the Millennium Peace Accord void, accusing Earth of sabotaging trade routes across 18 star systems. Phantom images of disrupted freighters flickered, cargo spilling into the void. Admiral Roland Mercer stood rigid, his broad frame weighed down by metals. From a military lineage in the Orion sector, his mechanical salute masked a flicker of unease. He mobilized the Celestial Guard fleet, 3,000 warships armed with 50 megaton plasma lances, surging toward Earth at 0.4 light speed. The armada's hulls gleamed in formation, a spear slicing through hyperspace. Aurelia Station spun 400 kilometers above Earth, its steel rings glinting against the planet's blue curve. Daniel Ross, senior liaison, sat in the liaison office, his brown hair tousled, blue shirt casual. A systems engineer turned diplomat, his wit cut through tension. He sipped coffee from a thermal mug as Mercer's ultimatum crackled via neutrino relay, demanding surrender or annihilation. Daniel chuckled, the sound low and infectious. He tapped the broadcast key, sending it across Earth's networks. The laughter spread, crew joining in, their mirth echoing through the station. Below, 7 billion citizens caught the feed, families pausing, commuters grinning at hollows. The threat twisted into a global jest, screens alive with defiance. Earth's media seized the moment. Fleet Forecast launched, a satirical show projecting alien ship paths with cartoonish flair. Memes flooded the nets, a clownish Veyron, Mercer saluting a mirror, racking up billions of views in hours. The planet's pulse quickened, laughter a weapon against the looming armada. Veyron in the hall watched the mockery unfold. His eyes narrowed, fury twisting his features. He ordered escalation, swelling the fleet to 10,000 ships. They formed the Crescent of Annihilation, a vast arc visible from lunar observatories, its glow a scythe in the stars. Mercer confirmed the formation, plasma lances charging and engines trailing plasma wakes. Daniel, unfazed, patched to Ambassador Lila Moreno. Her silver hair was tied back, her gray suit sharp as her scholar's mind. She initiated diplomatic queries, stalling talks to buy time. Her calm voice looped through alliance channels, each delay a calculated thread. Aurelia's defenses hummed, 200 ion cannon satellites running diagnostics. Their readouts flickered with encrypted human codes, buried deep in alliance relays. The station's viewport framed Earth, serene despite the gathering storm. Daniel's crew worked in quiet focus, their screens tracking the Crescent's approach. Veyron's hologram looped on Earth's screens, comedians tearing it apart. The planet's laughter grew, a defiant hum through cities and skies. Daniel leaned back, mug steaming, his eyes sharp. The crew exchanged nods, tension coiling beneath their calm. Mercer's bridge buzzed, his crew adjusting targeting arrays. The Crescent pressed closer, its arc blotting distant suns, but a glitch whispered in the relays, faint and unnoticed. Mercer gripped his armrest, his metals heavy, sensing a shadow in the signals. Moreno's queries dragged, each response stretching time. Earth satellites aligned, their cannons silent but ready. Daniel's console pulsed, the embedded codes a hidden route waiting to spread. The planet's media churned, fleet forecasts spiking with new memes, the standoff a spectacle. Veyron paced the hall, his cloak swaying, delegates shifting uneasily. The hologram showed the crescent vast but unsteady. Doubt flickered in their eyes, the air thick with unspoken fear. Laughter from Earth echoed through the feeds, a challenge to their might. Daniel set his mug down, the station's hum matching his pulse. "They're shouting," he murmured to his crew, "but we're wiring the stage." The crescent loomed, its glow fierce but fraying, as humanity's quiet design tightened its grip. Dr. Eliza Grant stood in the shadowed bunker beneath Aurelia Station, her dark lab coat blending with the steel walls. Slender, with glasses perched low, she was a cryptography specialist whose rare smiles flashed only when a system's secrets unraveled. Screens glowed around her, streams of data weaving a web centuries old. Ambassador Lila Moreno's hologram flickered into view, silver hair catching the console's pale light. Grant's fingers danced across a panel, summoning a galactic chart. Points of light bloomed across star systems. 700 years ago, we began rewriting their empire, she said. Each point marked a covert operation disguised as mining detonations, slipping tiny devices into the galaxy's communication relays and trade gates. Moreno's gray suit shifted as she leaned closer, her scholar's calm masking a sharp mind. "Their fleets?" she asked, voice steady but probing. "Under our thumb," Grant replied. A schematic spun up, showing Alliance ships laced with human codes, embedded long ago. Every engine, every weapon, waited on Earth's command. Moreno nodded, her eyes tracing the glowing lines of control. Beyond Sol System, the crescent of annihilation loomed, a vast arc of warships. Admiral Roland Mercer paced his flagship's bridge, his broad frame weighed by a chest heavy with metals. Disciplined yet vain, he hid unease behind a mechanical salute. His fleet's plasma lances hummed, a lethal promise aimed at Earth. Mercer's ultimatum crackled through the void. "Surrender, or your world burns." His voice carried the weight of his armada, engines blazing toward Sol. On Aurelia Station, Daniel Ross slouched at his console, blue shirt sleeves rolled, coffee mug steaming nearby. A systems engineer turned diplomat, his wit cut through tension like a blade. He keyed an open channel, voice light but sharp. "Check your uplink, Admiral." Red alerts flared across every Alliance bridge. Uplink unsigned burned into screens, locking navigation. Ships drifted, helpless as prey. Mercer froze, hand gripping his armrest, metals glinting under the bridge's harsh light. A delegate's voice broke through from the silver obsidian hall, scaled features twitching. "This can't be sabotage," he stammered, six eyes wide with doubt. Daniel's chuckle rolled out, a spark igniting Earth's networks. Memes flooded public feeds. Mercer's salute glitched into a loop, captioned, "Lost in Space." The satirical show Fleet Forecast spiked, billions laughing as the cruiser's drift became the lost lap. Daniel's eyes stayed on his console, tracking the chaos, his grin unwavering. Grant's bunker thrummed with activity. She ran a test, her fingers precise. A massive Alliance cruiser veered off course, its thrusters dead for a fleeting moment. Intercepted feeds showed officers scrambling, their shouts swallowed by static. Glitches rippled through the crescent, snarling a chunk of the fleet's systems in silent chaos. 2 AU away, General Marcus Hale stood on his cloaked command ship, its hull a whisper in the dark. Middle-aged, his plain uniform bore no medals, his calm gaze fixed on a holographic panel. As commander of the Solar Defense Force, he spoke only when it mattered. The panel flared to life, thousands of Shadow Fleet warships, cloaked by phase-shifted fields, armed with laser arrays that could carve through steel. Hale's voice was low, steady. "Their systems run on our keys." He traced codes buried centuries ago, controlling drives and weapons. "We don't need to fight. We stopped them cold. Moreno patched in from Earth, drafted the dependency treaty with swift, precise strokes. The alliance could keep its culture, its songs, its stories, but its military would answer to humanity. They'll hate it, she told Grant, but it's balance, not conquest. Daniel's secure line to Hale crackled. Their empire's built on our wiring, he said, smirking. Time to pull the plug. Grant's screens flickered as she tracked Alliance probes, their clumsy attempts to bypass her overrides. A quick pulse from her console reset their relays, a flick of her wrist. They're children playing with our toys, she muttered, her glasses reflecting the code's glow. In the silver obsidian hall, Magnus Veyron paced, his crystalline cloak swaying like liquid night. The hologram feed showed his fleet faltering, ships stuttering in their arc. Delegates whispered, their confidence fraying. Veyron's 6 violet eyes burned, but a tremor crept into his voice. "Advance!" he roared, though the hall's hum felt hollow. Mercer's bridge was a hive of tension. He wiped sweat from his brow, metals clinking as he leaned over a console. "What if they've outplayed us?" he murmured to a lieutenant, his salute faltering for the first time. The thought lingered, a crack in his disciplined facade. Earth's ion cannon satellites locked onto the crescent, their payloads ready but silent. Daniel watched their status on his console, green light steady. "They're shouting into our net," he told his crew, voice calm but eyes sharp. Laughter still simmered in the air, but the station's hum carried a new edge. Grant countered another Alliance probe, her pulse swift and surgical. Moreno's hologram reappeared. "Treaty's ready," she said. "They'll fight it, but they'll bend." Grant nodded, her focus unbroken. "They don't have a choice." Hale's panel pulsed brighter, his shadow fleet aligning across the void. "Prepare to decloak," he ordered, voice like stone. The cloaks thinned, a faint shimmer rippling through the dark. His warships waited, a storm held in check. Veyron's orders grew frantic in the hall. "Push forward!" But the crescent's edges frayed, ships drifting out of formation. Delegates exchanged uneasy glances, their murmurs louder now. Daniel set his mug down, steam fading. "They're still coming," a tech said, voice tight. Daniel nodded, his grin fading to a glint. "Let them. We've got the keys." Grant's final command fired. Across the crescent, thousands of ships flashed system lock in unison. Thrusters froze. Weapons went dark. Mercer's flagship lurched, its bridge console graying out mid-command. In the silver obsidian hall, Veyron's hologram cut off, his roar silenced. The Shadow Fleet's hum grew, a low pulse shaking the void. Hale's panel glowed, cloaks ready to drop. Daniel leaned forward, eyes locked on the feed. "Lights out," he whispered. Aurelia Station held its breath, Earth's laughter fading to a tense hush. The crescent hung, a broken scythe, as the unseen fleet prepared to show its teeth. The void trembled as General Marcus Hale's command ship thrummed, its cloaked hull a ghost in the dark. His holographic panel flared, revealing the Shadow Fleet. Thousands of warships spread across a vast perimeter, their laser arrays primed. Hale's plain uniform hung unadorned, his steady gaze fixed. He issued the order. "Decloak!" In a synchronized pulse, the Shadow Fleet shimmered into view. Hulls glinted, engines waking with a low roar. The armada formed a net, encircling the faltering crescent of annihilation. Each ship bristled with power, ready to carve through steel. In the silver obsidian hall, Magnus Veyron froze mid-stride, his crystalline cloak catching the hologram's light. The feed switched, showing Earth's fleet materialize like specters. His 6 violet eyes narrowed, a flicker of panic breaking his arrogance. Delegates gasped, their murmurs rising to a clamor. "Impossible!" one hissed, scales twitching. Admiral Roland Mercer's flagship bridge dimmed, alert screaming. His crew scrambled as sensors lit with human signatures. 70% of our targeting systems are compromised, a lieutenant reported, voice tight. Mercer's metals clinked as he gripped his console, his salute forgotten. How? He muttered, dread creeping in. Dr. Eliza Grant's bunker beneath Aurelia Station buzzed with data. Her glasses reflected scrolling code as she patched into the Alliance's command network. A master access panel glowed on her screen, controls for their entire fleet at her fingertips. "They're ours," she said to Ambassador Moreno's hologram, her voice cold but sharp with triumph. Hale's broadcast cut through the void, calm and unyielding. "Your fleet's fine, Admiral. It just answers to us now." His fingers tapped the panel, and 5,000 Alliance ships flashed, weapons offline, their systems sandboxed. Plasma lances powered down, leaving crews staring at blank consoles. Earth's networks erupted. Fleet forecasts streamed real-time telemetry of the frozen ships, billions tuning in. Memes surged. A cartoon Veyron waving a white flag, captioned, "Pause for Peace." Laughter rolled through cities, but it carried a new edge, defiance woven into the jest. Moreno's voice crackled over a diplomatic channel. 72 hours, Commander Veyron. Accept the dependency treaty or your fleet stays grounded. Her silver hair gleamed in the hologram, her calm words a blade. She stood on Earth, her gray suit pristine, drafting terms that preserved Alliance culture but chained their swords. Daniel Ross paced Aurelia Station's liaison office, his blue shirt slightly rumpled, coffee mug cold. He monitored Alliance hacks, each attempt flashing on his console. Grant's pulses countered them, swift and surgical. "They're flailing," Daniel said to his crew, his wit masking the tension. "Keep the pressure on." The Shadow Fleet tightened its grip, repositioning into a containment sphere around the crescent. The formation closed escape routes, a silent promise of dominance. Hale's panel tracked every move, his voice steady. No shots fired, no need. Veyron slammed his fist in the hall, cracking a polished obsidian table. "They mock us with tricks," he roared, his cloak swirling. Mercer's warning cut through the feed. "If they lock our FTL drives, we're debris." His broad shoulders sagged, metals dull under the bridge's light. A lieutenant whispered, "We underestimated them." Grant's screen showed the Alliance probing harder, their hacks desperate but clumsy. She leaned forward, her fingers a blur. "They're begging for a lesson," she muttered, dispatching a counterpulse. The crescent's glitches deepened, navigation flickering across thousands of ships. Daniel patched to Earth's command center, his voice steady. "They're boxed in. Treaty's our endgame." His crew nodded, their screens alive with telemetry. Fleet forecast hit new peaks, and the standoff was a global spectacle. A comedian quipped, "Alliance ships, great at drifting, bad at winning." Cheers echoed below. Moreno pressed the diplomatic line, her tone even but firm. "The treaty ensures your worlds thrive, Veyron. Refuse and your fleets drift forever." Her pen rested, the document complete. Alliance envoys hesitated, their replies stalling. Hale's Shadow Fleet held position, a wall of silent power. His panel glowed, showing every Alliance ship tagged with human overrides. "We control the board," he said, voice low. A single tap could lock the crescent entirely, a threat unspoken. Veyron's hall grew tense, delegates shifting in their seats. The hologram flickered, showing the Shadow Fleet's sphere tightening. "They surround us," a delegate whispered, voice trembling. Veyron's eyes burned, but his pacing slowed, uncertainty creeping in. Mercer's bridge crew reported more failures. "Navigation slipping again," a tech said, hands shaking. Mercer stared at the feed, the Shadow Fleet's hulls a stark warning. His doubt hardened. "We can't fight what we can't see." he muttered, his salute a ghost of itself. Daniel's console pinged, Grant's data streaming in. "They're still trying to break free," she reported. Another pulse fired, locking a destroyer's systems mid-maneuver. Its crew's panic flashed on intercepted feeds, a captain shouting into a dead comm. Earth's ion cannon satellites tracked the crescent, their payloads ready but still. Daniel watched their status, green light steady. "They're shouting into our trap," he said, his grin faint but sharp. The station's hum matched the tension, crew poised. Moreno's hologram reappeared in Grant's bunker. "They're cracking," she said. "Push harder." Grant nodded, her fingers relentless. The master panel pulsed, ready to freeze the entire crescent with a single command. Hale's voice cut through again. "Your move, Admiral." The Shadow Fleet's sphere tightened further, a noose of light and steel. Mercer's console flickered, another glitch spreading. His lieutenant's eyes met his, wide with fear. Veyron stood alone on the dais, his cloak still. The hall's hum faded, delegates silent. The hologram showed the crescent, its arc fraying as the Shadow Fleet loomed. "What have we done?" a delegate whispered, voice lost in the void. Daniel leaned back, hands behind his head. "They thought they'd scare us," he said to his crew. "Now they're the ones scared." The station's viewport framed Earth, untouched below. Laughter simmered on the feeds, but the air grew heavy. Dr. Eliza Grant's bunker pulsed with data, screens casting sharp shadows across her dark lab coat. Her glasses glinted as she pulled up a new schematic. "The kinetic reserve," she told Moreno's hologram, her voice a quiet blade. A lattice of microstructures shimmered on the display, woven across galactic trade lanes. Each node, smaller than a grain, could redirect signals, bending hostile fleets into traps. Moreno's silver hair gleamed in the feed, her gray suit crisp. "How far does it reach?" she asked, leaning forward. 90% of their routes," Grant replied. The lattice manipulated inertial fields, looping ships off course without a trace. She tapped her console, running a test. 1,000 Alliance scout ships vanished into a false corridor, their crews unaware as navigation reset after 3 hours. In the silver obsidian hall, Magnus Veyron's crystalline cloak swayed as he barked orders. "Counterattack!" His 6 violet eyes burned, but the hologram feed showed his fleet faltering. Delegates shifted, their whispers a rising tide. One clutched a tablet, scales paling. "Our scouts are gone," he stammered. Admiral Roland Mercer's flagship bridge crackled with static. His metals clinked as he leaned over a console, sweat beading. "Launch drones," he ordered. 8,000 pulsed from the crescent, their cannons primed. But human overrides kicked in, misfiring every shot into the void. Mercer's salute trembled, his discipline fraying. Daniel Ross, now in a command center on Earth's surface, grinned at the feed. His blue shirt was creased, coffee mug empty on the desk. "They brought fireworks," he said to his team, "but we control the fuse." The room buzzed, screens tracking the drone's failure. Fleet forecast mocked the misfire, memes dubbing it the Great Fizzle, billions cheering. Moreno's voice cut through a diplomatic channel. "The kinetic reserve ensures no invasion reaches us," she told Alliance envoys, her tone calm but ironclad. "Accept the treaty or drift forever." Her pen rested, the dependency treaty glowing on her tablet, offering cultural freedom under human oversight. Mercer tried a manual override, his flagship's FTL drive humming. Grant's team caught it, locking the system mid-spin. The ship lurched, stranded thousands of kilometers from the fleet. Mercer's lieutenant whispered, "We're exposed." Fear cracked his stoic facade, metals dull in the dim light. Earth's ion cannon satellites aligned, their payloads locked on the crescent. Daniel watched their status, green light steady on his console. "They're still swinging," he said, voice low. Let's show them the board. Hale's cloaked command ship hummed, 2AU out. His panel glowed, tracking the Shadow Fleet's containment sphere. He shared telemetry with Veyron, the kinetic reserve's lattice lighting up the feed. Your routes are our, he said, voice steady. Your move. Veyron's fist clenched in the hall, his cloak catching the hologram's flicker. Prove your restraint, he demanded, voice shaking. Hale nodded, restoring one Alliance frigate's systems. Its thrusters flared, realigning. Delegates exhaled, but tension hung thick. Grant's fingers danced, countering another Alliance hack. Her pulse was surgical, resetting their relays in a blink. They're desperate, she told Moreno's hologram. Good. Her screen showed the lattice's reach, a web tightening around the crescent. Daniel's command center thrummed, feeds alive with data. They're boxed, he said, pacing. His team nodded, eyes on the screens. Fleet forecasts streamed the frigate's recovery, comedians quipping, one ship saved, thousands to go. Laughter roared, but the air grew taut. Moreno pressed the envoys, her hologram unwavering. The treaty's your only path, she said. We don't want your worlds, just your compliance. Alliance replies stalled, their channels flickering with human overrides. Hale's Shadow Fleet tightened its sphere, a wall of unseen steel. His panel pulsed, showing every Alliance ship tagged. No shots, he murmured, just control. The crescent's arc frayed further, ships drifting as glitches multiplied. Veyron paced the hall, his roar muted. Find their weakness. But the hologram showed the lattice, its nodes a silent cage. A delegate slumped, muttering, we built on their foundations. Doubt spread like a virus. Mercer's bridge crew scrambled, consoles flashing errors. FTL's locked again, a tech reported, voice tight. Mercer stared at the Shadow Fleet's feed, its hulls a growing threat. They planned this, he whispered, his salute forgotten. Daniel leaned over his console, the command center's hum matching his pulse. They're cracking, he told his team. Push harder. The screen showed the crescent's chaos, thousands of ships caught in the lattice's grip. Grant's bunker glowed, her master panel ready to lock the entire fleet. One command, she said, her voice ice. Moreno's hologram nodded. Do it if they refuse. Hale's voice cut through. Your fleet's a guest in our system, Admiral. The Shadow Fleet's hum grew, cloaks thinning. Mercer's console flickered, another override locking his flagship's weapons. The hall's lights dimmed, Veyron's hologram stuttering. Delegates froze, the crescent's feed showing ships adrift. What are they? A delegate whispered, fear in his eyes. Daniel's grin sharpened. They thought they'd storm us, he said. The command center screens flared, the kinetic reserve's lattice glowing. The crescent hung, its arc a broken promise, as the Shadow Fleet prepared to fully decloak, a storm about to break. The silver obsidian hall thrummed with tension as Magnus Veyron paced the dais, his 6 violet eyes blazing. He issued a desperate command, voice echoing through the chamber. Thousands of Alliance ships unleashed plasma bursts, their lances flaring across the void. Human overrides intercepted the salvo, redirecting it into harmless streaks that faded against the stars. The crescent of annihilation faltered, its formation splintering under invisible chains. General Marcus Hale stood on his cloaked command ship, the hum of its systems a steady pulse. His plain uniform bore no medals, his gaze locked on a glowing panel. He initiated a full lockdown, fingers precise. The Shadow Fleet's containment sphere tightened, freezing the crescent. Thrusters stalled, consoles flashed, sandbox engaged, and the armada hung motionless, a constellation of trapped steel. Admiral Roland Mercer's flagship bridge drowned in red alerts. His broad frame slumped, metals clinking as he gripped a blank console. The 120-meter plasma cannon shut down mid-charge, its hum silenced. His lieutenant's eyes widened, fear eroding discipline. The crew exchanged glances, their controls dead, defeat settling like dust. Dr. Eliza Grant's bunker beneath Aurelia Station buzzed with data, screens casting sharp light across her dark lab coat. She caught an Alliance hack, her fingers dispatching a pulse to reset the relays. The Crescent systems buckled further, thousands of ships ensnared in chaos. Her glasses glinted, her focus a blade slicing through their defenses. Daniel Ross paced Earth's command center, his blue shirt creased, empty coffee mug forgotten. He patched into global feeds, sparking cheers across cities. Billions tuned into Fleet Forecast, which streamed the Crescent's paralysis, memes dubbing it the silent scythe. Daniel's grin sharpened, his eyes tracking the chaos on screens alive with telemetry. Ambassador Lila Moreno's hologram flickered in the bunker, her silver hair steady. She sent the dependency treaty to Veyron via secure channel, her gray suit crisp. The terms preserved Alliance culture, but bound their military to human oversight. She stood firm, her calm a quiet force, as envoys hesitated, their replies faltering. The Shadow Fleet's sphere closed tighter, a net of unseen steel. Hale's panel tagged every Alliance ship, their systems at his mercy. He monitored their positions, the sphere-sealing escape routes. The hum of his fleet grew, a low roar signaling dominance. In the hall, advisors crowded Veyron, their voices urgent. Oxygen reserves dwindled, a ticking clock for the trapped fleet. A young envoy slumped, scales pale, as intercepted feeds showed crews in disarray. Veyron's fist clenched, his authority fraying as the hologram flickered with images of frozen ships. Hale's broadcast reached Mercer, calm and unyielding. A lone Alliance destroyer drifted, its bridge feeds showing officers scrambling, comms silent. Mercer's shoulders sagged, his salute forgotten. His crew's hands shook, consoles dark, the Shadow Fleet's presence a growing storm. Daniel's command center pulsed with activity, screens tracking the Crescent's collapse. His team worked in sync, their focus tight. Earth's ion cannon satellites locked onto the Crescent, payloads ready but still. The planet's cheers grew louder, billions watching the standoff unfold. Grant countered another hack, her pulse surgical. The Crescent's glitches multiplied, navigation and weapons locked across thousands of ships. Moreno's hologram pressed the envoys, her voice steady. Alliance channels choked, overridden by human signals. Veyron stood rigid on the dais, the hall's lights dimming. A delegate muttered, despair in his voice, as the hologram showed the Shadow Fleet's sphere tightening. The Crescent's arc crumbled, ships frozen in humanity's grip. Mercer's bridge fell silent, consoles lifeless. A lieutenant reported navigation failures, hands trembling. Mercer stared at the feed, the Shadow Fleet's hulls a relentless threat. His discipline shattered, the weight of defeat pressing down. Daniel leaned over his console, the command center's hum matching his pulse. Earth's networks buzzed, Fleet Forecast streaming the chaos. Comedians quipped, Alliance tried to dance, but we cut the music. The planet roared, laughter now a weapon. Hale's Shadow Fleet held its ground, the sphere a wall of light and steel. His panel glowed, every Alliance ship tagged. The hum swelled, cloaks thinning as the fleet prepared to fully reveal itself. Grant's master panel pulsed red, her finger hovering. Moreno's hologram signaled readiness, her eyes sharp. The Crescent hung, a broken blade, its crews trapped in silence. Veyron's hall grew still, the hologram stuttering as a delegate's fear showed in wide eyes. Daniel's eyes narrowed, his pacing relentless. The command center's screens flared, showing the Crescent's chaos. Earth's cheers drowned out the void, billions united in defiance. The standoff teetered. the alliance's might unraveling. Hale's voice cut through, steady as stone. The Shadow Fleet's hum became a roar, its light ready to break. Mercer's flagship console flashed, another override locking its systems. The hall's feed faltered, Veyron's authority a fading echo. The crescent drifted, its arc shattered. Daniel paused, hands behind his head. The command center held its breath, screens glowing with the lattice's grip. The Shadow Fleet loomed, its reveal imminent, a storm poised to reshape the stars. The silver obsidian hall fell silent, its towering arches heavy with defeat. Magnus Veyron stood on the dais, his crystalline cloak torn at the hem, his 6 violet eyes flickering with desperation. He raised a trembling hand, signaling a ceasefire. The hologram feed showed the crescent of annihilation, thousands of ships frozen, their hulls glinting under human overrides. Delegates sat rigid, scales and feathers twitching as the reality sank in. Ambassador Lela Moreno's hologram glowed in the hall, her silver hair steady, her gray suit a beacon of calm. She faced Veyron, her voice even but unyielding. The dependency treaty scrolled on her tablet, offering cultural autonomy, but chaining the alliance's military to human control. Veyron's jaw tightened, his pride warring with the ticking clock of dwindling oxygen reserves. General Marcus Hale's cloaked command ship thrummed, 2 AU from the crescent. His plain uniform stood stark against the glowing panel tracking the Shadow Fleet. He tapped a command, locking another wave of Alliance ships into maintenance mode. Their hulls pulsed with override signals, thrusters, and weapons silenced. Hale's calm gaze never wavered, his voice low. The demonstration was a silent blade, cutting through Veyron's defiance. Dr. Eliza Grant's bunker beneath Aurelia Station buzzed, screens flaring with intercepted data. Her glasses caught the light as she revealed an alliance plan for a counter-offensive, now dead in its tracks. The kinetic reserve had rerouted their signals, looping the plans into a void of false corridors. Her fingers hovered over the master panel, ready to tighten the lattice's grip. Admiral Roland Mercer stood defeated on his flagship's bridge, his broad frame slumped. He unclipped his medals, all 47, and set them on the console, the clink echoing in the silence. His crew watched, eyes wide, as he nodded to a lieutenant. The gesture was clear. No more fight. Mercer's discipline had crumbled, replaced by grim acceptance. The Shadow Fleet broadcast a hologram, a 360-degree view of Earth, untouched and serene, orbited by ion cannon satellites. Hale's voice carried through, steady. The feed shifted, showing the crescent's paralysis, a stark warning. Earth's networks roared, billions tuning into fleet forecast as memes crowned the standoff, the great stall. Cheers echoed through cities, laughter now a defiant anthem. Daniel Ross stood in Earth's command center, his blue shirt creased, empty coffee mug a relic on the desk. He raised it anyway, grinning at the screens. Earth's cheers surged, the planet united. His voice cut through the global feed, sharp and triumphant. The command center buzzed, his team tracking the crescent's collapse, their focus unbreakable. Veyron's hands shook as he signed the Ross-Moreno Dependency Treaty, the document flashing across a human-controlled relay. The hall's hologram flickered, delegates exhaling as the ink dried. The kinetic reserve activated, redirecting thousands of Alliance ships to neutral zones, their paths bent by microstructures. Not a single shot fired, yet the armada retreated, humbled. Hale's Shadow Fleet held its sphere, cloaks thinning but still a silent threat. His panel glowed, every Alliance ship tagged. He nodded to his crew, voice steady. The crescent's arc dissolved, its ships scattered under human guidance. Grant's bunker thrummed, her screens tracking the retreat. "They're done," she said, her voice ice. Moreno's hologram nodded, her pen resting. The treaty was sealed. A new balance struck. Earth's ion cannon satellites stood down, their payloads untouched, a silent promise kept. In the hall, Veyron slumped, his cloak pooling around him. A delegate whispered, "We underestimated them." The words hung, heavy with truth. The hologram faded, showing Earth's serene glow, a planet unscathed. Mercer's bridge was quiet, consoles dark. His lieutenant reported the retreat, voice low. Mercer stared at the feed. The shadow fleet's hulls a lingering shadow. His metals lay abandoned, his salute a distant memory. Daniel's command center pulsed with energy, screens alive with the treaty signing. "They swung hard," he said, pacing. "We built better." His team grinned, the air electric. Earth's cheers drowned out the void, billions celebrating the bloodless victory. Hale's voice reached his crew, calm but final. The Shadow Fleet's hum softened, its sphere loosening as the Alliance ships drifted to neutral space. The kinetic reserve's lattice glowed on his panel, a web of control that rewrote the stars. Veyron's hall dimmed, the dais empty. Delegates filed out, their whispers a mix of relief and shame. The treaty's weight settled, a new order born from human patience. The crescent was gone, its threat a memory. Daniel leaned back, hands behind his head. The command center screens flared, showing the retreating armada. Fleet forecasts shifted to victory reels, comedians quipping, "The Alliance came for war, got a lesson." Laughter rolled, but the air held a new weight, a future taking shape. Grant's master panel dimmed, her work done. She pushed her glasses up, a faint smile breaking through. Moreno's hologram flickered out, her voice lingering. The treaty was a bridge, not a chain, but the Alliance would feel its weight. Hale's shadow fleet stood watch, its light a quiet guardian. The void was still, Earth's blue glow steady below. The standoff ended, not with fire, but with design. The stars waited, reshaped by humanity's hand. The Ross-Moreno Dependency Treaty redrew the galactic map, its terms weaving a delicate balance across star systems. Earth's command center thrummed with purpose, screens aglow with streams of compliance data from distant trade lanes. Daniel Ross stood at the heart of it, his blue shirt creased from long hours, a fresh coffee mug steaming in his hand. Once a systems engineer, his sharp wit had evolved into a diplomat's precision. He patched into trade negotiations, his voice steady as he leveraged human control over FTL gates to secure favorable terms. Each deal was a brick in a new galactic framework, his casual stride masking the weight of his role. He glanced at the screens, where telemetry showed Alliance ships adhering to strict protocols, their movements tracked by human signals. Ambassador Lila Moreno's hologram flickered before a tense assembly of Alliance delegates in the silver obsidian hall. Her silver hair gleamed under the chamber's lights, her gray suit a symbol of unyielding calm. She outlined a 50-year transition to shared governance, her words carefully chosen to preserve cultural identities while enforcing human oversight. "Your worlds remain yours," she said, her voice a quiet force, "but your fleets answer to us." Delegates sat still, their scales and feathers betraying only faint tremors. The treaty's terms were a shield against rebellion, its balance disarming resistance with surgical precision. Moreno's pen rested, her tablet glowing with the document that would bind their futures. On Ebene Prime, an Alliance world of neon spires and bustling markets, civilians crowded a plaza under flickering holographic billboards. The treaty's signing played on repeat, human signals overriding local feeds. A merchant with iridescent wings paused, her stall of crystal wares forgotten. "Peace, but on their terms," she murmured, her voice cautious yet hopeful. A young technician, scales glinting in the neon glow, scrolled through the treaty's clauses on a tablet. "We keep our art, our songs," he said, nodding slowly. "It's something." Nearby, a grizzled laborer clenched his fists, his voice low. Veyron led us to ruin, and now we kneel. The crowd dispersed, their steps heavy with reluctant acceptance, a mix of optimism and resentment simmering beneath the surface. Dr. Eliza Grant worked in the fortified bunker beneath Aurelia Station, her dark lab coat blending with the steel walls. Her glasses caught the light of screens mapping the kinetic reserve, a lattice of microstructures now transparent to all. She integrated its nodes into a public galactic chart, ensuring any hostile move would trigger rerouting. Her fingers moved with precision, her focus unwavering as she expanded the system's reach across trade routes. "They'll see every thread," she muttered, her rare smile a flicker of satisfaction. The reserve's design was a masterpiece, a silent guardian that turned aggression into futility. General Marcus Hale stood on his cloaked command ship, the Shadow Fleet's hum a steady pulse in the void. His plain uniform stood stark against the glowing panel tracking his armada. He decommissioned thousands of warships, a gesture of trust broadcast across systems, but kept a cloaked deterrent ready, their laser arrays primed. His calm gaze swept the stars, the treaty's enforcement, his unspoken duty. The panel showed Alliance fleets capped, their movements logged by human keys. Hale's voice was low, his orders sparing. "We watch. Always." Magnus Veyron, stripped of command, vanished into exile in the Abeni sector. His crystalline cloak was packed away, his 6 violet eyes dimmed by defeat. A reformist leader took his place, their measured speeches filling the silver obsidian hall with cautious hope. The chamber, once a stage for Veyron's bombast, now hosted quiet diplomacy, its arches bearing witness to a new era. Delegates moved carefully, their debates tempered by the treaty's weight. Admiral Roland Mercer trained under human advisors, his broad frame hunched over unfamiliar consoles. His medals gone, he rebuilt the Celestial Guard, now a lean fleet bound by human authentication keys. His salute returned, sharper but humbled, as he led joint exercises with Earth's forces. Each maneuver tested compliance, a step toward stability. Mercer's crew worked in silence, their discipline reshaped by necessity, their flagship's systems locked to human signals. Earth's networks buzzed with a new rhythm. Fleet Forecast faded, replaced by Galaxy Watch, a program tracking Alliance adherence. Billions tuned in weekly, their laughter now a backdrop to pride in humanity's design. Comedians softened their barbs, weaving unity into their jests, though memes still mocked Veyron's fall. "From warlord to wanderer," one quipped, the feed spiking with views. The planet's mood shifted, its people celebrating a victory won through patience. Grant pushed the kinetic reserve further, its web tightening across trade lanes. She shared its specs with Alliance scientists, inviting scrutiny to prove its non-lethal intent. Her screens glowed, mapping the lattice's reach, a silent promise of control. Her rare smile lingered, the system's elegance her quiet triumph. "They'll try," she said to her team. "They'll fail." Daniel toured newly opened trade hubs, his wit a steady undercurrent. He negotiated with reformist envoys, securing Earth's leverage over FTL gates. His coffee mug stayed close, a constant as he shaped a galactic order. His steps were light, but his eyes scanned every detail, ensuring no clause slipped through unchecked. Envoys respected his ease but felt the steel beneath. Hale oversaw the transition from his command ship, the Shadow Fleet patrolling silently. His panel tracked compliance. Every Alliance ship logged. The void was calm, Earth's blue glow steady below. The treaty held, a framework built not on conquest but on design, its roots deep in human foresight. On Ebene Prime, the plaza emptied, but whispers lingered. A merchant packed her wares, hopeful for trade under the new order. The technician joined a crowd, debating the treaty's terms, their voices cautious but forward-looking. The laborer lingered, his resentment a quiet ember, but he turned homeward, accepting the stars had shifted. Daniel paused in a trade hub, mug in hand, watching a feed of Earth's celebrations. His wit, once a weapon, now builds bridges. Hale's shadow fleet faded into the void, a silent guardian. The galaxy settled, its new order a testament to humanity's patient architecture. The Ross-Moreno Dependency Treaty stabilized the galaxy, its framework locking 42 star systems into a new order. Human engineers swarmed Alliance infrastructure, their tools humming as they enforced strict protocols. Daniel Ross stood in Earth Command Center, his blue shirt rolled at the sleeves, coffee mug steaming as he oversaw the transition. His wit, once sharp with defiance, now carried a diplomat's ease. He patched into galactic feeds, coordinating with reformist envoys to ensure compliance. His steps were steady, each negotiation a thread in a tapestry of peace. General Marcus Hale chaired a Galactic Security Council from his command ship. The shadow fleets hummed a quiet pulse. His plain uniform stood out against the glowing panel tracking fleet movements. No Alliance ship exceeded the treaty's cap, their weapons bound by human keys. Hale's calm gaze swept the void, his voice sparing but final. The Council's chamber, a neutral hub carved from asteroid steel, buzzed with cautious diplomacy, its walls etched with star maps. Ambassador Lila Moreno negotiated cultural exchanges, her silver hair catching the light of diplomatic feeds. Her gray suit remained crisp as she secured agreements with 12 Alliance worlds, their envoys hosting human diplomats to foster trust. Her words were precise, building bridges where resentment lingered. She stood in a holographic chamber, her tablet glowing with terms that preserved identities while ensuring stability. Dr. Eliza Grant's bunker beneath Aurelia Station thrummed, screens mapping the kinetic reserve's lattice. She released its specs to Alliance scientists, and the data was open source to prove its non-lethal design. Her glasses glinted as she worked, fingers dancing to refine the system's web. The lattice hummed across trade lanes, a silent guardian against aggression. Her rare smile flickered, pride in the system's elegance. Daniel toured the Silver Obsidian Hall, now a neutral diplomatic hub. Its towering arches loomed, their polish dulled by the treaty's weight. He strode through, mug in hand, his grin light. "Nice place," he said to an envoy, "but our signal's stronger." The envoy nodded, scales shifting, a mix of respect and unease in their eyes. Daniel's ease masked his focus, every word measured to reinforce human leverage. Earth's population swelled, new orbital stations rising to monitor galactic traffic. Their steel rings spun against the planet's blue glow, each a sentinel of the new order. Galaxy Watch dominated feeds, its viewership steady as billions tracked compliance. Laughter faded into pride, the planet united under a doctrine of design. The Shadow Fleet patrolled trade lanes, its cloaked hulls visible on public scanners to reinforce transparency. Hale's panel logged every maneuver, his fleet a silent deterrent. The void remained calm, the treaty's roots holding firm. Admiral Roland Mercer, reformed, led a joint exercise with human forces. His broad frame stood straighter, his salute sharp as he commanded a capped Alliance fleet. 500 ships moved in sync, their systems locked to human signals. Mercer's eyes, once clouded by defeat, now held cautious resolve, his crew disciplined under new protocols. Magnus Veyron, in exile, penned a memoir in the Ebony sector. His words admitted failure, conceding humanity's quiet architects had outmaneuvered him. The pages, shared on galactic nets, sparked debates on Alliance worlds, their citizens grappling with a humbled pride. On Aurelia Station, Daniel gathered his crew in the liaison office, the viewport framing Earth's serene glow. He raised his mug, steam curling. "To laughter," he said, voice soft but firm, and the systems that back it up. The crew grinned, their hands steady on consoles tracking the galaxy's pulse. The void stretched quietly, its stars realigned. Daniel leaned back, mug warm in his grip. His journey from engineer to diplomat had carved a new path. His wit was no longer just a weapon, but a tool for peace. "We didn't fight," he said, eyes on the blue planet below. "We built. That's our strength. Patience, design, and a laugh to start it all. That's what keeps the stars in line."